Hello, this is Matthew with Outfishing 13, bringing you another reel service and repair video. Today, I'm going to be showing you one of the common problems with the Zebco 33J. This is a Chinese-made model, and how to resolve it and fix it. So if you have this problem, don't throw it away. Keep it. Go get it out of your old box, and I'll show you how to fix it. If you enjoy this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. All right, let's get started. All right, here's the 33J. This is a really nice reel, and it's been around since the mid-2000s, 2004, 2005, or something like that. And they made it for probably about 10 years. And there's lots of them out there. This is referred to as the 33 Authentic. On this particular reel, I bought this reel off of an eBay auction, and when I started using it, I noticed that it had a catch in it. And if you put some pressure on it, it slips, okay? In other words, if you're reeling in a fish, it would slip. Otherwise, it will work just fine, but as soon as it got the pressure on it, it slips like that. So, what I know is going on here is that in the back here, right down in here, this gear right here, if you can see it, this gear right here, or the pinion gear, has a spot in it that's become worn out. And this is probably one of the weakest spots of this particular reel, is this main gear here, and this shaft, and this gear here on the Authentics, because they're made out of aluminum. And although it's pretty tough and durable, it can't withstand like getting hooked up on a snag and then using the reel to try to undo that snag by jerking on it. Also, if it's not cleaned and it gets gunk and grime in there and sand and grit, it's going to wear out a lot faster. There might be other things you do that is going to cause this problem, and it's going to strip it out. Other than that, it's going to last a long time. So to repair this, let me show you something here. Each one of these reels has a certain amount of what I refer to as gear lash. Okay, and if you look carefully, you can see that the main handle crank move back and forth. In order to work properly, these reels need to have the gear lash tight up against here, but not so tight that it causes it to grind. And you can see right here between this bushing and the anti-reverse gear, there's a little washer right here. And so what's happening is this gear right here, as it's worn, everything is worn out, this gear is farther away from that gear, and it'll cause it to slip. So what we can do is we can make sure that this gear is tighter up against there by adding some washers in here and closing that gap. And then you can see just by closing that gap that it's tighter. So I got a solution to that. I do have a spare part, so I think in order for me to really use this reel or to sell it to somebody or give it away or whatever, I would like to take take this pinion out and replace it with a used one that I have that's in better shape. But I will show you how to fix it if you don't have another one of these center pinions. You can't buy these anymore. What you have to do is you have to get another reel that you can use for parts that it's in a little bit better shape, and use the old pinion, and then keep the rest of the parts for spare parts for later down the road. So let's take this rest of this apart, and we'll start on it. So let me zoom out a little bit here. First thing we need to do is we need to take off this spinner cone. So you just hold the handle, spin it to the left, and take that off. I want to inspect this. It looks pretty good, but it does need a cleaning. We need to take off this spool. To do that, we're just going to use a small flat screwdriver and put it in this little E-clip here, or spring clip, and take it off. We'll take off this drag washer and this fiber drag washer. Then we can take off the spool. This has a lot of grit in it, so I'm going to clean this up as well. So there's our 4 drag washers. Here's the drag plate and the drag gear. This is a little spring gear washer. Take that out because that's going to fall out anyways. And take that out. Take that out. Using a pair of needle nose pliers, take this little clip out here. It's a retaining clip for the bushing. And now using a screwdriver, we can take out that bushing and this bushing right here. So I think I'll take out this one first. And take out this bushing. I'm being stubborn. There we go. All right, now we can take out this main gear. Okay, there it is. Then we can take out the center gear here. And that's all there is. This is a bearing right here. We need to clean that and service it. But let me show you where the problem is on this one right here. Here's the problem. Right here, there's been some gears that have been worn down some. The rest of them on this side are fine. But we get over here on this side here, and there's one that's bust pretty bad, and then this one right here that's pretty bad, and then this one right here is worn a little bit, but not so bad. So I'm going to take a minute, clean up all my parts. I got a spare part here. This is some parts, internal parts from a 33J, and I want to take out this center pinion here and take a look at it, and it's in good shape. It's worn. I can see that it's gotten sharp in a couple places here. It's all been used pretty well. It needs to be cleaned up, and I'm going to use that. But before I put that in there, I'm going to show you how you can use some washers to tighten up this gear here and get it working again until you can find a better center pinion. So I'm going to get these parts cleaned up and I'll be back. All right, I've got all my parts cleaned and I'm going to start reassembling this. Now I'm going to reassemble it in reverse order. So we need to start with the back. So this is the one that has some broken pieces. Right here, this tooth right here, this tooth right here, this tooth right here, and this tooth right here have been broken off right on the tips right there. But there's still lots of gear, and if I can mesh it up tighter, it should work just fine. Okay? So to do that, let me show you, let me zoom in here and show you what's going on. So I have, when you reassemble this right here is the anti-reverse pawl or actuator, and it sits in there just like that with that little finger going towards the teeth. And then there's a little copper washer that goes and it sits in here like so. Okay, and that's the spacer that's supposed to space and close the gear lash. And it's been worn out, and so I've got another little washer here that I'm going to work on. I'm going to put on there. Now it may be too thick, but you can always take and sand it down. So let's take and work on that, or I may just take that copper washer off and put this little stainless washer on there. Now this little stainless washer was a lock washer, but I took and I I straightened it out so that it didn't act as a lock washer. It's just going to act as a regular washer with a little gap right there. And I think what I'll do before I put it on is you can take a piece of sandpaper, flat sandpaper, and smooth this out some so it doesn't have any. And we're going to smooth out that side. I'm going to smooth out this side. That way it doesn't have anything that's going to catch. You can also thin it down this way as well. So we may only need to put it on this one instead of both of them. Let's try it out. Here's my main ball bearing. Put some oil on it down here and work that in. Okay. We need to put this nose bushing in and put a little bit of grease on it. We'll put this on there. And we're going to put this on here. We're going to put this one on here. And if it's too tight, we'll take the copper one off. Okay, to put this back together, it can be kind of tricky, but you need to make sure right here is a little notch right there. See that notch? See if I can get a close-up of that notch right there, right there. That little actuator right there needs to go in that notch when you put it back together. So aim it down like so and get it right into that little notch. If you don't get in there right, it's not going to work. I think this is going to be too much. So take that one off. That one off and just put this one on right here. Okay. Then we're going to put on one of these bushings. Make sure we add a little bit of grease inside this bushing. And use this handle not to seat it in there. Okay. Now let's see how tight that is when we put this on there. We can test it out. I think it's going to be too thick. Put the handle on there and try it out. Yeah, just too thick. It just grinds up there too tight. So that's too thick. So what we can do is we can sand down that washer that we put in there, or we can try finding a little bit thinner of a washer. All right, I took the time to thin this washer down some more, and we're going to try it out and see how it does. Now, one of the things that I want to point out right here at this point is these bushings look like bearings, but they're not. And one of the reasons why this has failed is because this bushing doesn't move, but this little washer would. And if you could see it really close, and you could see that it's been worn out on one side, which is what's caused this problem to occur. Now, one of the things that a guy can do is you can get some bearings, and I have an extra bearing here. We can see if this one will fit in there. It will, but you can always take and get some more bearings and super tune this reel so that it has 4 ball bearings instead of just 1. And that will prevent this problem from happening, because this little washer would ride around there and it wouldn't just rub, it would just mesh with it and spin around. And that would prevent this problem from happening altogether. So let's put this back together. So we're going to put this washer on here. This is my modified washer that I straightened out and thinned out some. Put my bushing on. I'll put another bushing in there to get this to snug it up. So there we go there. Got that in there and seated in there. Put this in there. And I'm going to try it out. Okay, that's actually working pretty nicely. It's a little bit snug still. I can tell that the gear lash is just snug. Let's take and put this other bushing on this side here. Let's put a little bit of grease right down in there before we do. I'll put this bushing on and seat it in there. Make sure it gets seated all the way in. There we go. Let's try this one more time. I can tell it's a little bit tight, but it's going to work. So that is a good fix for that. You could get a little bit thinner of a washer. If you had an extra part one, you could double up with, say, 2 of these little washers right here if you had an extra one. But that will work. Let's put it all back together and try it out. If I put this on here just temporarily to show you. So I put that on there and I grab a hold of that. It's strong. And so I do have it fixed. I mean, I could use it the way it is right there and it kind of wear in that bearing, I mean that washer, and it'd work just fine. When you put this on, put it on right in that position, right there like that. That'll be loose all the way and will make it easy to put together. So that's a pretty good reel considering that it wasn't working before, and it's one way to save it. The very best way, though, of course, is to put in a new pinion gear that's not broken, which is what I'm going to do with this one. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I've got quite a few, probably at least 50 videos on showing how to repair reels. So go ahead and subscribe and comment below. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day. Bye.